join us in the end. Right, hiya. So like I say, I'm Josh. I'm one of the kind of senior quality engineers within Lloyd's. We are within the Homes platform, so Prad. You also join me in that as well. So like I say, our talk is around our journey to use BDD and kind of what we've done, what we've learned, what went wrong, what went well, you know, all these kind of things. They're kind of slightly chaotic story, so to speak. So we know it's been kind of a long day. I've seen quite a few people yawning. I've done it myself. So we're going to try and mix things up just a little bit and kind of hopefully, if the technology works. We've got a little video, it's almost like a too long didn't read for the entire sort of presentation. So, you know, if you fall asleep after it, I'm not going to be that pissed because you'll have seen the main content anyway. So let's hope this works. Yeah.
Hola amigos, ¿cómo estamos todos? This is Prad. We both love going to Spain on holidays, although Josh has just been bagpacking in Italy.
And I'm Josh. We're here to talk about our journey of changing the culture and delivering fast and efficiently across the platform. We started in a difficult place. Manual and automated regression was slow, even though we have BDD layer, but still needed automation engineer to write the code for every new feature, even though the type of elements on a web page are almost same.
Why is this test failing again?
Let me guess. DOM changed?
Yeah, we have to build a locator strategy which is less reliant on how the DOM is designed.
Right now, every UI tweak feels like a surprise refactor.
And every new feature or application means reinventing the same thing again.
So, what if we just stopped doing that?
Stop fixing Lokias?
Not only that, stop duplicating effort. What if we designed a standardized framework around types of web elements instead?
You mean buttons behave like buttons? Inputs behave like inputs? Everywhere?
Exactly. A standardized and low-maintenance locator strategy, not tightly coupled to individual DOM structures.
So, we don't need the DOM fully built before we start writing test cases?
That's the point. Tests from design and then tweak them once it's built. Minimal coding. Let's build a POC that almost anyone can use on any web application. Let's explore what Playwright provides to support it.
How do we achieve less duplication across all the teams? Playwright inbuilt locators. Let's use labels, ARIA labels, get by role, and a fallback to the traditional page object model. Less effort. Design a BDD library with a pre-coded X library and provide custom BDD steps and step definitions.
Good. Let's discuss this with Sarath. He can make it even better with his experience and ideas. And then let's lock the strategy to begin the POC.
What's it?
The culture has changed. We are delivering together, fast and efficiently. Thanks for watching our journey.
So yeah, as you can see, our voice acting skills are really, really good here. Totally didn't get an AI to write the entire thing. Okay, so we can start to move on now. Let's not play that again. So I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of kind of what we do within our kind of tech enablers world, because for those of us that don't work in LBG, and there's quite a fair few of us here, we're kind of almost a QE component team. We kind of help to drive and implement that kind of QE strategy within our platform, but then also kind of help to advise beyond that. So kind of sticking with that kind of drive sort of theme there. You can almost think of us like an F1 pit crew, really. We look after the tools and the technology so that feature teams can drive fast. So at the end of the day, we just want you to be able to do your job as efficiently and as quickly as possible. So, yep, okay. Well rehearsed this.
So the idea of our team is basically we've got about 200 QEs in our platform, which is mortgages. So at the moment, previously in few months ago, every team used to touch upon the same components of our applications. So that means they were duplicating code and writing within their feature teams. And most of our team members, they were not, the automation first capabilities. They were not carrying that. So we thought of a few things, how we can actually make a framework, a design which is part of helping and bringing the manual testers on board as well. Writing the frameworks, writing the guardrails on that, and then also think about training, providing training materials, which in a bank we have a lot of various training materials provided anyways, but we wanted to provide something which is efficient and targeted, and probably take less hours for them to get on board, and then they can go on to the detailed training course which is provided by the bank. And then eventually, recently, like we have seen today, everybody is working on AI. So we have started some work which take the load and the repetitive task away from the QE's day-to-day job. So fine problem to have. Like I said, initially, most of our, the target was to create a framework or to equip our test team so that the manual tester can come on board, start the automation first strategy, which is our bank objective. And then we started thinking, how can we make it, because at the moment, somebody who has not worked as an automation engineer, as you can imagine, some of us has probably faced this before, they feel scared whenever the coding is involved. So the idea was to bring them on board with our BDD layer, and then as we go along, you'll see how we have actually transformed and bring them on board. So so we thought about 3 pillars. One was the tooling, which is we need to make sure that we have a tool which is easy for everybody to learn, provide everything out of the box or most of it out of the box, so people are not spending time reinventing the wheel or doing it within their local or within their feature teams. And on top of that, we wanted to make sure that we cover all or most type of testing within that framework, and they are standardized. So if the people are moving between the teams, they don't need to go and start learning a new way or a new design of our automation framework. So make it standardized was one of the biggest thing. And enablement, like I said before, we created a few training courses. One of the training courses was TypeScript training course, because we use that as a language to do our automation. So we actually created a very tailored-based course, which is self-learning. It is a repo, but it explains everything and goes through the fundamental of TypeScript.
So I guess let's start by what we actually started to look to do. I guess the first thing we jumped to was Cypress, because of course everybody jumps to Cypress immediately when they think of automation. Hands up who has actually looked at Cypress and used it before. Hands up, keep your hand up if you're still using Cypress. Yeah. Point proven. So I guess we looked at the whole market and looked at various different tools, and we sort of thought, well, what do some do well? What do some do not so well? Where do they kind of fall over? And where is the best kind of option there? And I guess we we considered all the different options. Like we worked quite closely with our kind of center of excellence within the bank, because obviously we're part of quite a large organization. So there's thousands of QEs all using different tools. So let's see what's out there, see what other platforms and people are using. But also, as part of this journey, we wanted to get our devs involved and kind of make sure that they were comfortable with the tooling that we wanted to use. So we engaged with them and talked to them. And I guess we wanted something that worked for everybody, regardless of who you are within the kind of the engineering or even the product world, really. Anyone within change, we wanted to try and kind of enable you. But I guess everybody has done this. Whenever you're looking at tooling, you end up having several hour-long workshops with each other, just arguing over which tool ends up being the best option. And I guess that is nearly what happened, to be fair, with quite a lot of this. There was some quite die-hard Cypress fans in our platform, and things got quite heated in quite a lot of it. But it meant that we spent far too long just kind of arguing over the same things without actually getting anywhere. And realistically, I think there was far too much caffeine in that room, and I think that kind of fueled it more than anything else, really. And I guess the kind of the lesson we got from this was not to sit and argue over the same things over and over again. Just pick something and go with it and see what happens was kind of the way we went with it. So in the end, we went with Playwright. So Prad?
Yeah. So eventually we went with Playwright, and I think after all the discussions, as most of us has raised their hand, we've been using Cypress, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who are using Playwright now. Most of the things which comes with both the toolings, they're pretty similar, but some of the things which actually fits our platform, and I think overall bank as well, it's because we are predominantly Microsoft infrastructure, and all the tech base is Microsoft. One of the biggest thing was in choosing a test automation tool. Second thing, handling iframes and the DOM. I think this is a similar thing. Cypress provides that as well. And then fast execution, that is also common. But the other big thing was the time traveling and parallel testing, which Cypress actually, we have to pay for it in order to use that, whereas with Playwright, it's part of the package. And then, the first-class TypeScript support, that's common as well. And then it's scalable across the bank because, as I mentioned earlier, we have standardized tooling across the bank, and that was part of it. So the framework strategy, initially we thought of as an SC, think of, okay, we're going to start writing the code, provide some utilities with the page object model, and then everybody can take that framework and tailor it to their needs in terms of their features they're developing. But then, as I said initially, we wanted to make sure that all our manual testers are also part of it, and they can contribute, probably a stepping stone to get into the automation. So then we thought of Playwright with BDD. So at that point, the idea was that we need to make a standardized framework with a BDD layer on, so somebody who has not done the automation before, they can actually start writing the feature files. And you'll see in the upcoming slides, those steps doesn't actually need any coding behind it, because we have actually already written about 800 plus steps and the code behind it. So they're all common steps which any feature team, irrespective of what application you're testing, you can actually pick those steps, write the feature file, and off you go, you can run it by entering the data of their specific applications.
So who's actually looked at BDD before? Yeah, most of you in the room. So here's a very quick intro to what BDD looks like. So given I'm at the bar at Whitelocks, probably should have changed that to the Tetley, really. Ask for a pint of Virtuous and a veggie burger, then the bartender shouldn't judge me for being there at 2 o'clock. So it's kind of the straightforward thing of describing what you're doing as a user and giving actions and outputs on there in kind of plain English that anybody can read. So I guess if you can read that, then you're 90% of the way there. And it means that we can start to introduce this kind of stuff so that anybody, regardless of their kind of coding knowledge or being able to read or write code or anything, can start to understand what our scripts are doing, what our tests are doing. We're not making it technical. We're not, making it so you have to go on a 3-month course to learn TypeScript and Playwright and all this other stuff to be able to read and write and understand your tests. So like Prad said, we created this BDD library, which kind of is growing constantly. I think the last time we looked, it was around 800 and odd steps, and it's everything from, clicking buttons to entering text to validating certain fields, working with tables to working with images, file uploads, everything you need. Think of it like your building blocks. Think of it like Lego, in the sense that to construct a test, all you need to do is just place the different steps in a particular order and run with it. We're not having to write loads and loads of code underneath, meaning that as a QE, I can spend more time on the actual business requirements and thinking about my tests rather than going, how the hell do I write this in TypeScript? It makes it so much easier from a QE's point of view, and it's about lowering that bar to entry.
And then after that, I think the idea was how we can make sure all the test teams, and not only the test team, the whole SDLC team, including the, we call it CJM, but I think in the wider world, it's business analysts. They can all come in and get involved in our automation framework or testing overall. So the idea was, like we said, standardize feature files. You can pick up from the library the steps and create that business readable scenario. So as soon as the JIRA ticket is being refined, finalized, the testers can go from there, start writing the test, even though the application or those features have not been developed yet. And the other thing was getting the engineers involved. So again, reusable steps already been written behind it. So that means that not only the QEs who can go and write the test cases, even the CGMs can get involved, or the developers can get involved when they're writing or when they're building the application up. So after that, the idea was, now that everybody is able to contribute, the whole 200 tests, the QEs, now the idea was how to bring them and get them upskilled rather than just sticking to the first layer of the framework. So we created a custom TypeScript fundamental course. A few people have finished it already, and they found it pretty useful. Now, actually, they're able to read the basic code behind the feature file steps, and then now they're going into the next level, which is the complete TypeScript course, so that they can come and contribute in the coding as well side of the framework. And then the idea was slowly build their confidence by getting involved into the automation framework and making it useful, because they are actually helping in delivering faster rather than doing the manual testing and then 1 or 2 testers who are actually doing the automation, which is going into the pipeline. So they feel like they're part of it, and then understanding the flow of the framework, and slowly after taking the course, they're much more confident. So after that, the idea was that we need to work with the devs. So one of the things while we were designing the framework, we have actually introduced them that what Playwright brings out of the box. So one of the capabilities in the framework is, like we mentioned before, I think in the video, where the traditional page object model where you have to maintain law of object classes. Here we said, rather than recording and maintaining the large page object classes and the individual methods, why don't we use the labels which is provided by Playwright, so we don't have to maintain them, or even if the ID, if you're using it, or the CSS selector, if it has changed later on, we don't have to worry about it because we have never used it at first place. All we've used is the label of an element. So for example, I don't know, if there is a text box field which says name, so we just use that name. So our strategy was, go and find the label first on the application. If you can't find the element by the label, then the tester will go and record a respective locator in the page object class. So what does that mean is, It's very easy to maintain. Everybody across the platform is using the same strategy. It's a very lightweight framework, and then everybody gradually learning the ways of doing it, and they don't have to maintain a big, massive framework with a lot of massive object classes. And this becomes the common practice across all the teams. And the third bit is the duplication. Because these steps have already been designed, they don't need to say, for example, there is a step which is called give and I launch an application. Now everybody will write within their team in their own way, but because it's already written, they just need to take that BDD step, pass the name of their respective application, and that's it. They don't need to write the code behind it. The application will start launching. And in the same way, if there are buttons which are common, they can actually take it from other applications which they've already written about it.
So one of the things we started to look at as well was, because we're standardizing everything, AIs love this kind of stuff. So we started to lean into Copilot, into all the different LLMs that we've got, to start thinking about how can we standardize our use of these kind of things. So because we're using standard kind of definitions of everything, everyone writes the same steps, everyone's writing it in the same format, we can start to train LLM models and train these AIs into how to write really good code and really good automation scripts. You know, we're keeping those patterns consistent. So if I ask an LLM to start writing me a script to log into an application, to key these bits of data and to do this particular journey, it'll know how to do it, and it'll use the same common steps. It's not going to spit out a load of garbage and a load of other bits that, you know, might not be reusable or anything like that, which is really good. So we're using things like instructions MDs into different repos to making sure that we've got everything that we need and keeping those patterns consistent. And I guess the other thing that we kind of think about is, how do we translate our kind of our sort of logic into those feature files and then into that BDD structure, and making sure that we can map those reusable steps. So any conversion from one framework to another, we can start to do that and start to generate that boilerplate really, really quickly. For example, one of the ones that we've done is being able to quite quickly generate a load of API tests from Swagger files, from Open API specs, using those standards literally in seconds. And it is really, really transforming the kind of the kind of journey that we've got. So our QEs are focused more on the business logic and not on that kind of, how do I write this?
Yeah, so overall, I think what we talked about is manual testing was a bottleneck before. It's not anymore, because everybody can write the feature files in the automation test framework. So that means from the beginning, everybody is involved in our automation first strategy. Earlier, it used to be high effort and low reuse. Everybody was creating probably some of the common steps, which is common to all the feature teams. They don't need to do it now. The strategy of creating a framework which already has the library behind it, it makes it easier now for everybody to just pick up the steps and start running with it. Tester contribution, everybody is contributing it. And then patterns, you can follow. It's so easy that people who have not only the testers, like I was saying before, the QEs, the BAs, everybody is involved and they are contributing to it. The human impact, I think everybody's confident, far more confident in getting their hands on writing the automation tests. The developers are helping out because they are familiar with it. They are designing the application, or at least the DOM, so that the QEs doesn't need to go and maintain the controller by themselves, so that they can automate easily. Clear pathways for the learning. We are continuously creating more learning opportunities and taking away the repetitive tasks by the use of AI. And then the ownership of quality is not just with the testers, it's with the whole team now.
So I guess just finally, just to wrap this up, because I know we are running out of time. So kind of strategy beats tools every single time. So when we standardize things, it means we can scale it far quicker and far better. And it's about designing those learning pathways and making sure that people know how to use the tools. Don't just drop them on it and expect them to figure it out, because that never works. And AI is designed to reduce friction and kind of enabling them to do it. We're still owning the outcomes. That's really important, as we've seen throughout the entire day. And I guess just bring people along with anything you're doing with your journeys and making sure that you're involving everyone. So just lastly, we have a little bit of a challenge. We want you to do this. So just when you get back into work, get back into the office or whatever, just pick one manual test that you've got. Try and write it in that given when then. It doesn't have to be something that you're testing. You might not be a tester. Just write it in that format. If you show it to a dev, show it to a business analyst, show it to whoever. If they understand it, you're halfway there. The use of BDD can really transform how you write your tests and how you do this. We don't have time for questions, but I guess just one last thing. We are constantly wanting to understand how people do this. This is our strategy. This is how we're doing it. We know other people might do it in different ways. Always eager to learn and understand how people do it. So come find us, come have a conversation, and we can have a chat about these kind of things. Thanks.
Thank you.